Hello all of you wonderful people, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again in live action for another episode of Choose Your Own Adventure. Yes, it's still a brilliant title, and if you don't know what that is, then it's where I will host a list idea that was submitted on the previous episode that was chosen by you, meaning that you are in charge of the content, you sultry wenches. And today we have to thank Studios for this idea of the 10 most unique multiplayer games of all time, which was so good, it was literally dripping with potential. Seriously, I've got stains on my carpet now, thank you very much. And if you want your list to appear on next week's episode, then drop it down in the comments section below and I'll pick one to turn into this turgid mess. Delicious. And you know what? There's nothing quite like booting up the old rig and taking the fight online. Whether it's local sports team 2020, I swear I'm not on steroids, Wrestling Simulator 23, or even a lovely game of we can't be friends anymore because you keep using bloody Leroy Tekken 7. But what we're going to be doing today is celebrating games that do something more with the multiplayer formula. So without further ado, let's crack on with the list chosen by you. Number 10, Prop Hunt. The custom creation game Gary's Mod is a hotbed of creation that has led to a number of incredible multiplayer titles over the years. I mean, Trouble in Terrorist Town, for example, is certainly worth playing if you've not already tried it. But the most unique of all may well just be Prop Hunt. Now, Prop Hunt splits players into two teams, a group of hunters and a group of spirits who must hide from the hunters by possessing random objects in the level. Now, if the hunters can destroy the correct objects that are currently being possessed, they win the game. However, if they damage the wrong objects, which is very easy to do considering how packed the levels are, they will take damage. Meanwhile, the spirits can only win if the timer ends without them being detected. It makes for one of the most hilarious experiences out there and will constantly result in both sides screaming in terror and laughter as the countdown draws close to 0. It is a mode that completely upends expectations and never fails to deliver on fun. Plus, it will actually train you to look out for possessed toasters, and in this day and age of the rise of the machines, that's something that's very useful. Is that studio lamp looking at me funny? Number 9, the Souls series. So, for years prior to this franchise, the divide between single-player games and multiplayer games was pretty simple. I mean, if you wanted to play a game by yourself, you just went through the single-player mode, and if you wanted to enjoy the company and abuse of others, you went online. It seems so obvious, right? Well, it was until Demon's Souls came along and turned the formula on its head. Now, you were never safe, as players could invade your world and show you what your innards looked like as they backstabbed you to oblivion. And even if they weren't lurking and dirking you, other players could leave messages on the ground, either offering assistance or, as was more often the case, complete meme-worthy deception that would lead to you leaping off ledges to your doom or attacking NPCs who really should just be left well alone. The ability for players to invade your game for either malicious or beneficial purposes added a real layer of depth to an already great Souls single player. Not that we can really call it that anymore, because it's online and offline. Either way, it is a unique feature, and I have not ever been relaxed since. Permanently tense. My buttocks are like steel buns. Number 8, Speedrunners. In Speedrunners, your greatest enemy isn't actually your competition or the weapons or power-ups that they can use against you. No, here the greatest enemy is the edge of the screen. Taking a page out of Micro Machine's book from way back the concept of speedrunners is to stay on the screen by any means necessary and can create moments of nail-biting exhilaration as you just hang on enough to make those final bits and make them make a mistake and then claw back to victory and take that, Tony! You suck! Or similar experiences. To make matters worse, the edge of the screen grows closer and closer as you play, making the margin for error while running almost non-existent. It's not even that hard a game because it will only take you about 30 minutes to get yourself set up and then fling around the courses with confidence. But it's a game that rewards tactical planning as much as it does bravado. And it's for that reason it is the perfect party game to bust out with your mates. Number 7, Driver San Francisco. By the time the Driver San Francisco came out, the Driver series had fallen on hard times, and to be honest, not many people were bothered with it, which is actually a real shame because the game's multiplayer was simply incredible. Or to be more specific, one of the multiplayer modes was outstanding. Driver's Tag mode sees you and other players pursuing a trophy car which is driving around a map. And if you think that tens of cars all smashing into one another to take over one sounds chaotic, then yes, it bloody well was. The twist is that you actually start the mode staring at the game's map and have the ability to take control of nearly any car in the city. This leads to a variety of viable options as you and other players try to figure out what is the most optimal car for the job ahead of you. Plus, it also means that sometimes you'll be alone for ages as you just snake your way through the city, and other times you'll find yourself and a handful of other players spawning in the same area, and it means that you're trading paint all the way. Either way, the end results were usually glorious. Number 6, Journey. When you first begin playing the wonderful Journey, you might not even know that you've inadvertently started a multiplayer event. But it's true, being one of the most subtle and cathartic experiences imaginable. As you progress through the game, you'll encounter a companion that you will complete the rest of the title with. But what most players don't know, at least their first time through that is that this companion is actually another human player that is also making their way through the game's story. And given that both players don't know this and that there is a simplified communication system that doesn't let you speak directly with one another, it means that Journey does a brilliant job of making players work together without ever even intending to. In an age where a generation of gamers are in pretty much open revolt over the fall of the single-player game, Journey fooled everyone into enjoying the company of others. And how brilliant is that? Number 5, Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. When Ubisoft announced that they would be adding competitive multiplayer to the Splinter Cell series, many wondered where the hell were they going to go with this? Would it be a traditional deathmatch style game? Would it be a stealth-based objective mode? And the answer to these questions was yes. Chaos Theory's incredible Spies vs. Mercs multiplayer mode has 2 players take the role of mercenaries who play the game in first-person perspective and are tasked with defending objective points from 2 other players who take control of spies. Now they play the game in third person and must capture said objectives. What's that? It sounds like a holler and a hoot to boot? You are damn right, as this, much like garroting one of the guards without being noticed, was executed perfectly. While the mercenaries are better equipped than the spies, their first-person views mean that the spies can take advantage of their blind spot to sneak around them, or even better, directly up behind them and take them out. And to cap all of this off, the game allows you to use the chat function to interact with the mercenary directly, whether you choose to scream obscenities or whisper a few haunting words. The moment felt so incredibly satisfying to pull off. If Splinter Cell ever makes its way back to us, and I know that Scott Tailford is praying daily that it will, this mode has to come back, right? Number 4, Worms. When Worms first released in 1995, there was nothing quite like it in all of PC gaming. Incredibly, almost 21 years later, there still isn't. I mean, you got Hogs of War that did this, but in 3D, but we have to pay respects to the game that started it all. Worms is easily classified as a strategy game, but there's really no other strategy game like it. While you can certainly get a lot of mileage out of carefully planned attacks and a strong knowledge of the game's mechanics, there is a heavy element of randomness to the game that is supported by this whimsical cartoon violence of the aesthetics. With the ridiculous weapons on offer, the random spawning of items on the procedurally generated maps, and the acrobats required to maneuver around them, Worms is a game where matches are never the same twice. Adding in a liberal dose of humour to the mix is truly what gave this game its staying power, and it's still a title where real scores are settled, because trust me, giving your opponent the prod off a ledge into the water is still as satisfying today as it was when this was released. Number 3, Natural Selection. So how unique is Natural Selection? Well, it's so unique that not many people actually bothered to play it because they didn't understand what it was about. So I'll try and break it down, because on a basic level, Natural Selection is a kind of mix of first-person shooter, real-time strategy, and it pits aliens against Marines in a traditional shooter combat style, but both players are able to take command of the action through kind of real-time strategy viewpoints. Does that make sense? And that's the basic bit, because here come the complications. Each team handles resources differently. Aliens have their own hierarchy of commands. You have to consider territories and structure at all times, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed. Yet that's exactly what makes natural selection so brilliant, because it created an entirely unique way to approach multiplayer gaming and offered no compromises along the way. This is a wholly original game that requires you to learn a whole host of new techniques to get the most out of it, but my God, does it feel good when all of these pieces finally fall into place. Number 2, Spy Party. Although Spy Party is only in early access at the time of recording this, it has already proven itself to be one of the most inspired and entertaining multiplayer experiences that gaming, well, has pretty much ever offered. And I know that is a huge statement, but trust me, it's actually earned. Now, Spy Party is a 2-player multiplayer game that has one player take control of a sniper assassin and the other control a spy attending a party who the sniper is tasked with eliminating. But the twist here is that the sniper doesn't know which guest he's assigned to kill. Instead, the sniper must observe the movements of the guest to determine who is actually the spy. Meanwhile, the spy has to complete a series of objectives while blending in with the other guests. And as you can imagine, what follows is the ultimate game of cat and mouse. I mean, sure, you might get your melon splattered the first few times that you play this game as the spy, because you'll look like an absolute loon sprinting around the party, burking it up all over the place. But over time, and through learning restraint, you'll experience the pure joy of faking it until you're making it. It's a skill that I truly admire, because, you know, the only reason that I got the job here is because they caught me stealing mics on my first day and I just had to say I was a voice actor. Look at me now. Regardless of your role though, this is a game that produces memorable experiences with every outing. And number 1, the ship. So a common element amongst many of the unique games on this list is that they gave gamers a multiplayer experience that they weren't really expecting. The ship is kind of a little bit different though, because this gave us a multiplayer experience that we've always wanted, but were unsure if it was a game that could actually ever be pulled off. Now the ship places you and a group of fellow online players onto a cruise ship. Each player is assigned another player to assassinate, meaning that you have a target while also knowing that you are someone else's bounty. But what complicates this situation is that kills can only be done in certain areas to make sure that your character isn't caught. And you have to do other things like keep yourself clean and fed, because no one wants a stinky spy, right? It's tense, intelligent, and oftentimes plain chaotic. The ship combines all of the things that we love about the multiplayer experience and wraps them in a new package, making everything feel excitingly fresh. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 incredibly unique multiplayer modes, and I hope that you enjoyed that. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below, and say hello to me here in the live chat. I'm probably just spouting absolute spurious crap right about now. Don't know. Hello, old me. And I hope that you enjoyed that, my friends. I really, really hope that you did. And if you want to see your list make it onto a future episode of Choose Your Own Adventure, then let me know down below, and I'll pick one out, turn it into a list with the magic that is WhatCulture, and deliver it to you next Tuesday. But before we go, I just want to say something. We detailed a lot today about multiplayer games and how things were so much better as an experience that was shared with other people. And I just want to make sure that you are doing okay, because I don't want anyone out there to feel like they're alone with their problems, either be physical or mental. You should never feel that you are alone or incapable of sharing those expressions with other people, because you will be so surprised to find out, much like the titles on this list, that sometimes problems shared can be better experiences. If you reach out and speak to somebody, I know that it's a hard thing to start. Trust me on that one, it can be a very difficult conversation to begin, but you will be so surprised to see how much people actually care about you. Remember, friends, family, professionals in the support industry, all of us care about you and want you to do well. So go out there and absolutely smash at your big ledge. If you want to, I'll probably put my PS4 details down below and we can all play together sometime. That'll be fun. Yeah. Anyway, you can go follow me at RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter, or you can check out my board game channel Live and Let's Dice. And remember, you have been awesome. Never forget that. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.